Nyaje chembor don hingmi jong zoner monum chembor nga dia ta bakar tar ngam san do shermo do tumba tiji chan la ki jom sar ne chen ro wer cher ngi jang gam zan ja wer tiji shan la yelar man jime panzo ja la soran da gon dia to ban por shinji lo.
In order to truly benefit all sentient beings, please give rise to the supreme and unsurpassed bodhicitta, which is the enlightened mind of awakening. Today, we will continue our profound discussion and exploration of the detailed practice ritual of the revered Shakyamuni Buddha. We have already diligently spent 4 dedicated sessions on this invaluable and profound Dharma teaching, delving into its various aspects and profound wisdom. Today is the very last final session indeed, and following this, tomorrow, I will give a simple, brief, gentle introduction to the important, essential, classic, valuable Letter to a Friend. Letter to a Friend has already been properly, systematically, carefully included in our complete, organized, detailed course schedule. For those who are currently unable to properly study the words of my perfect teacher, it's better to study the Letter to a Friend first. That is why we've included this arrangement in our curriculum. Tomorrow's session on the Letter to a Friend will mostly be a transmission recitation, and sometimes there may be a few other additional things that are present. When we talk about the Letter to a Friend, the main purpose is to give everyone the transmission recitation. And at the same time, the wisdom of Bodhisattva Nagarjuna can also genuinely help create a truly positive connection for everyone, which is indeed very important and highly significant for all parties. There are also numerous translations available in various other foreign languages. Furthermore, on the upcoming Sunday, there will be a dedicated and important practice session specifically focused on the act of confession, providing an opportunity for spiritual reflection and guidance. On the 10th, the 11th, the 12th, and the 13th, for these past few days, we have carefully arranged a diverse variety of different courses. The primary focus of these sessions is on the fundamental preliminaries of the path to liberation, as well as some straightforward practice instructions and essential profound teachings. Our regular and dedicated students may have already heard these valuable teachings before. Maybe you've heard them, but in any case, this time it's specifically intended for some lay Buddhists to delve more deeply into and discuss these kinds of profound and essential teachings. Most of us now, in the present day, are actually quite proficient and well versed with the foundational teachings of the Dharma. But there are still some individuals who truly need to listen attentively and receive these profound teachings. So, not being entirely satisfied with the Dharma is actually the most appropriate and correct attitude. In the ancient Buddhist scriptures, the Buddha's devoted disciples frequently asked the Buddha what kind of motivation is truly needed when listening to the Dharma. The Buddha said, just like the ocean is never full, we should never feel we've had enough of hearing the Dharma. So, what is the characteristic of us ordinary people? We think, I've listened to one class, that's enough. Or, I've attended 2 classes, that's enough. Or, I've studied one teaching, that's enough. But having this kind of satisfaction is actually not enough. So we should cultivate a mind that is never satisfied. If you feel content with worldly wealth, that's good. But when it comes to hearing and practicing the Dharma, we shouldn't feel satisfied. So, over these upcoming next few precious days, let's try to listen to some valuable Dharma teachings every day. That is to say, today, tomorrow, the day following after, and the final complete 4th session day. It's just like our usual recitations. At the beginning and end, the recitations are a bit more extensive. Then, starting from the 10th day of the month, the recitations will become more concise. Furthermore, the teachings will also not exceed a total of 1 hour in duration. They might be a bit shorter. So today, let's continue with our discussion. Right now, we are talking about the qualities of Shakyamuni Buddha, exploring the various aspects that define his enlightened nature and the depth of his teachings, and the methods of practice of Shakyamuni Buddha. After listening to these past 2 days of teachings, many people may have developed greater faith in Shakyamuni Buddha and greater confidence in our extensive biography of the Buddha. Some people have studied it before, but perhaps didn't pay very special attention to certain specific parts of its overall content. So this time, I myself am also very delighted. Many of us have indeed actually received the precious blessings of the enlightened Buddha himself. True blessings always come through attentively listening to the holy Dharma wisdom. Within our own mind streams, this kind of profound faith truly takes root and genuinely begins to grow. That, in essence, is the true blessing. So I think over the past 2 full days, I have also carefully and thoughtfully asked some people, including those of us here. Some Dharma friends who have been living here for more than 10 or even 20 years also feel that they have developed an even greater faith in the teachings of the Buddha. This deep and unwavering conviction should be considered necessary for their spiritual journey. In the past, they might have thought that I simply had a very special and profound fondness for the extensive biography of the Buddha. But now it truly seems that this spiritual practice of the Buddha is indeed extraordinarily remarkable. So I think everyone should certainly develop this kind of unwavering and steadfast faith. There is also another Dharma teaching. At that time in 1993, His Holiness Jigme Phuntsok Rinpoche, when he went to Halifax, Canada, there was also a significant teaching, which was primarily about profound faith in the Buddha. At that time, the host Dharma Center was the one established by Chogyam Trungpa Rinpoche. They requested a teaching on how to develop faith in the Buddha, Dharma, and Sangha. Then, at that time, the precious Guru spoke about pure faith, desirous faith, and unwavering faith, each corresponding to the Buddha, the Dharma, and the Sangha, respectively. It was a truly insightful talk like this, a profound discussion indeed. It lasted less than 2 hours, including the time for translation. Now, our English and Tibetan editorial teams, we have transformed this content into a comprehensive video and a detailed, easily accessible transcript. Consequently, in the latter half of the academic year, all of our enrolled students, irrespective of their current number of followers, will be required to thoroughly study. This is extremely important. Just like in the secular world, when a certain influential leader or a respected supervisor delivers a profoundly important speech in precisely the same manner, the truly precious and revered Guru, who is indeed, like the enlightened Buddha himself, delivered a particularly excellent and insightful talk more than 20 years ago, leaving a lasting impression. He gave an especially good teaching. After we organized it into a comprehensive written form, we then formally presented it to everyone. I sincerely hope that everyone will not just casually glance at it and then quickly be done. We must diligently analyze it with great attention. Some individuals write reflections after thoroughly reading, deeply thinking, and carefully analyzing the content. Why did His Holiness at that time choose to expound on the Buddha's qualities in this way? So today I am providing you with an exclusive preview of what is to come. This anticipated release is projected to be officially launched and made available to the public sometime in the latter half of this year. At that particular time, everyone should carefully watch it with great attention. Now let's continue with today's teaching, which offers profound insights and guidance. We'll move on to the latter part of the comprehensive instructions on the Buddha's practice methods, which are essential for spiritual development and enlightenment. Yesterday we talked about how Shakyamuni Buddha bestowed blessings. He emitted various brilliant lights and appeared in different vivid dreams. This particular aspect has already been thoroughly discussed. Today, however, the primary and most important topic is, in the end, every sentient being will leave this world. But when leaving this world, some practitioners indeed have significant control over matters of life and death. For some people, particularly when they are dying, they often clutch their chests with both hands, weeping bitterly and profoundly, and pass away in a state of utter and complete misery. Some individuals, however, depart from this earthly life with great calmness and profound serenity, so this significant difference is also addressed with various and distinct teachings in spiritual practice and profound contemplation. When we are faced with death, although the Buddhist sutras have already meticulously described 11 distinct methods of practice, which are indeed the profound death practices that bodhisattvas should diligently cultivate, our comprehensive Buddhist scriptures further explain that there are, in fact, 11 specific methods of practice for individuals at the crucial time of death. These 11 methods of practice, not long ago, when I was translating the Tibetan Tripitaka, I found one scripture that explained them very clearly. But now, I really can't remember which specific scripture it actually was. It was explained quite very well, though indeed. But as for this detailed summary, right now I simply can't recall the exact name of that sutra. At that time, I truly wanted to translate it because those 11 methods were described so incredibly well. If we could effectively summarize them, it would be immensely beneficial. The Sublime Nirvana Wisdom Mahayana Sutra also contains such methods of practice, comprehensively covering them all. At that particular point in time, what I had translated was indeed the Sublime Nirvana Wisdom Mahayana Sutra. Actually, it should have been in the year 2017. I translated one called the Sublime Mahayana Sutra on Wisdom at the Time of Death. There aren't too many of these, but it has already been translated. And in 2017, we also thoroughly explained this significant scripture to everyone. This particular scripture is highly valued and deeply revered in Tibetan Buddhism. Furthermore, some historical books and ancient records meticulously state that this profound sutra, dating back to the time when the esteemed Guru Padmasambhava was actively alive and present, was of the 5 great scriptures given to King Trisong Detsen and royal family. Actually, the content isn't very extensive. I translated it last year. Now, it seems to be highly regarded in the West. It exists in more than 10 languages, especially here in multicultural Europe, English, French, Standard German, as well as native Hungarian and spoken Portuguese, and also traditional Thai, written Korean, and many other various international languages. Moreover, in Tibetan Buddhism, the late Dilgo Khyentse Rinpoche, along with some other great masters, also strongly advocated studying this profound Dharma. We have already discussed this topic last year. So the sacred Mahayana Sutra of Wisdom at the Time of Death. Everyone should have already heard about it, I believe, by now. Why is it given so much importance? In actual fact, it might very well have been because King Trisong Detsen truly valued it greatly at that particular time indeed. Perhaps it was because the royal family placed special importance on it. There is a catalogue of the Tripitaka, specifically known as the Dengama. This Dengama is also a particularly renowned catalogue found within the collection of the Tripitaka. It is called the White Catalogue, meaning it possesses a white quality. In the White Catalogue, it is stated that originally, back in the 8th century, this important text should have been meticulously translated from its original Chinese form into the Tibetan language. However, at some point later in history, the Chinese version of this significant document was unfortunately lost. It was also translated into many different languages. It was translated from its original Tibetan language into many other languages across various regions and cultures as well. Therefore, in the profound tradition of Tibetan Buddhism, regardless of whether it is the highly revered Mepham Rinpoche or the omniscient and supremely enlightened Long Chenpa, their numerous and extensive teachings consistently place great importance on it. Previously, I managed to find it with considerable great effort from the complete Tripitaka texts. I carefully told an old venerable Lama that I deeply wanted to receive the authentic transmission lineage properly. I asked if he could pass this transmission to me. He said, you don't need a book, that can be memorized. He recited it while transmitting it to me. So many practitioners in Tibetan area also place great importance on the sacred Mahayana Sutra of Wisdom at the Time of Death. It is highly valued as well. Even in English now, there are said to be at least 5 or 6 distinctly different translated versions available. After I meticulously finished translating it, I genuinely don't know whether you all truly value it or not. I think maybe many people don't even know about it, but it doesn't matter. It's fine if you have it, and it's fine if you don't. It's truly not as good as if I could just have a delicious hot pot today. Having a hot pot, wow, that's something people really care about, a genuine culinary delight. Or if it's about having a good meal, that's taken very seriously. But when it comes to carefully translating sacred scriptures, it seems to have nothing to do with me. Maybe a few people think this way. But regardless, whether it's the sacred Mahayana Nirvana Wisdom Sutra or the sacred Mahayana Sutra of Wisdom at the Time of Death, within these profound texts, everything has already been clearly explained. For a dedicated practitioner who has truly generated bodhicitta, when approaching the time of death, one should endeavor to fully understand and deeply realize the profound and significant meanings taught within this scripture. Here, regardless of your physical location or current circumstances, when you become clearly and acutely aware that you are indeed entering the irreversible state of dying, we should visualize above our own head our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, abiding there. To do this, you must focus on him with intense faith. This particular aspect will also be explained later on. Each and every one of us will indeed eventually leave this world. When leaving this world, some individuals may endure long-term suffering from a debilitating illness and then gradually slowly pass away. At such times, it might be a bit easier to visualize the Buddha. Some individuals might unfortunately experience a severe car accident or a devastating earthquake, a powerful tsunami, or even a sudden and serious illness, and then collapse right then and there. In those cases, it may not be possible to visualize. But if you have such an opportunity and you feel, oh, now the signs of my imminent death have appeared indeed, it's certain that you will die very soon. So at this moment, you can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha above the crown of your head. This is extremely important. Moreover, what we're discussing today is simple and easy to practice, and even practitioners whose realization is not very high can still do it. So I think everyone present here today should be able to gain something valuable from this discussion, and you truly need to focus with strong, unwavering, and persistent faith. This is Shakyamuni Buddha, or you can think, no, Shakyamuni Buddha is right above my head. Think in this way. So what should you contemplate next? You should reflect that all phenomena are impermanent. When we face the prospect of death, we absolutely shouldn't let our minds become extremely anxious, distressed, or call out in utter desperation. There's no point in doing that. So how should you think at this time? You should visualize in this way: it's not just me alone who will die, for all sentient beings are subject to the inescapable law of death and cannot escape it, and this is a universal truth. We are in endless cycles of samsara. Whether it's myself or other sentient beings, even though we have experienced countless cycles of birth and death, apart from feeling the suffering of birth and death, we have never truly given any significant meaning or purpose to death itself. Most of us sentient beings, unfortunately, are born and then die, over and over again, constantly rising and falling, endlessly cycling within the endless cycle of samsara. But with every cycle, perhaps in this endless cycle of samsara, we die again and are born again. In fact, our deaths have not actually solved the bigger problem. We keep cycling through, so this time we will continue to proceed. I should always strive to make my eventual death truly valuable and profoundly meaningful. I should do everything I can to ensure that my death this time is meaningful. What does it mean to be meaningful? It means that at the moment of death, one contemplates the Buddha or contemplates impermanence. This is very important. Many of you here have also studied the Kshitigarbha Sutra. In the Kshitigarbha Sutra, it is said that at the very moment of death, if one deeply contemplates the revered Buddha or the compassionate bodhisattvas, or even just hears a profound and meaningful verse from the sacred Mahayana Buddhism, then, except for those who have actually committed the 5 unpardonable sins completely, one will definitely not fall into the 3 terrible lower realms ever. All of these are very deeply meaningful teachings. Upon observation, it has become apparent that the vast majority of individuals present in this particular gathering appear to be women. There's only one man standing right here. There's just one person present in this location. There is one individual located here in this immediate vicinity, and there is another individual situated over there at a slightly more distant point. To all the men in attendance, I kindly request that you please raise your hands so that I may clearly see each and every one of you. Now the women, please just raise your hands up, so that's how it indeed is. So what exactly should we do next? As we have just thoroughly discussed and considered, it is abundantly clear that death should indeed be meaningful. If death is to be meaningful, just coming into this world and then eventually dying might not have much profound meaning. If our eventual death is to be truly meaningful, we need to continue reflecting on what exactly. We need to deeply contemplate the concept of impermanence. What kind of impermanence? all internal and external things, all phenomena of the future, past, and present, everything in existence, are all, by their very nature, arising and ceasing moment by moment, impermanent. All phenomena, inside and out, are all momentarily impermanent. This is something we can see with our own eyes and understand with our minds. Among all these conditioned phenomena, some continuities are destroyed immediately, much just like brilliant lightning or delicate bubbles. These disappear very quickly, rapidly, and so suddenly. This includes some small insects and some dear people, as we observe, who pass away on the very night they are born, and there are some phenomena like us now, living in this Saha world, a realm of suffering and impermanence, or relatively speaking, things that are more solid. For example, our current concrete structures, or the relatively solid and tangible world that we currently inhabit and experience. Relatively speaking, their inherent continuity and persistence tend to last for a considerably longer period of time. However, irrespective of whether the temporal duration is extended or brief, and regardless of how long or short they may be, no matter what, an absolutely indestructible phenomenon is truly and utterly impossible to exist in this entire world. Everyone is aware of this. Especially the principle of the impermanence of life and all phenomena should be very important to everyone. Precisely because of this, all phenomena of the physical world and the sentient world will ultimately be completely extinguished without exception. Not a single phenomenon will remain. This includes all Buddhas, with our teacher Shakyamuni Buddha as the principal one, who also ultimately demonstrate the profound spiritual achievement of entering nirvana. As for us ordinary beings, it goes without doubt and without exception will ultimately be completely extinguished. Because the Buddha understood this principle, that all conditioned phenomena are inherently impermanent, the Buddha himself told us what can be considered a particularly conclusive and profound statement. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Whether the world is great or small, no phenomenon is permanent. As clearly stated in the Samadhi of Sitting Meditation Sutra, whether it is a vast great world or a tiny small world, a permanent phenomenon simply cannot exist anywhere. Nothing ever lasts long. Everything appears only briefly, like a brilliant flash of lightning. All phenomena do not linger for long. Just like swift lightning, they appear in this world and vanish in an instant completely. Precisely because of this, when we face death, everyone should have some understanding in their hearts. If someone tells you, you are indeed in the late stage of cancer, especially in this modern era, whether it's due to the insidious effects of nuclear radiation or the widespread interference of harmful chemicals in our environment, or even the impact of highly processed junk food, it's a truly alarming and concerning diagnosis. In this world that we currently live in now, in today's world, many young people are unfortunately suffering from all kinds of diseases. Suddenly, their lives can become hopeless and beyond any possibility of cure. At such challenging times, we shouldn't be so deeply disappointed. One might ask, why am I so incredibly unlucky? Many young people my age are still alive. Why am I the one who has to die now? Whether others die or not has nothing to do with you. When it's your time to go, then that's it, right? At this moment, you should think like this. All conditioned phenomena are impermanent. Yet these sentient beings are pitiful because they do not understand the law of conditioned phenomena. They dislike painful separation and death, but are especially happy about loving gatherings and birth, feeling quite joyful and genuinely excited. This is how simply most of us always are. Death, divorce, and parting often make us truly especially sad. And then birth and gatherings fill us with joy and excitement. We always often joyfully say, "Happy birthday to you." But if you look at it with true wisdom, on the special day of your birthday, you are actually one significant step closer to inevitable final death naturally. So on one hand, we should wish you a happy birthday, but on the other hand, whether you are truly happy or experiencing profound pain, it is precisely because of our deep attachment to this continuous cycle of samsara that we keep revolving within it again and again, perpetually. Therefore, our impending death should be regarded as a rare and precious teacher in our lives. From this, we come to understand and determine that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. This is still very important in our practice. We need to contemplate and meditate on the Dharma of impermanence. When we ourselves are approaching death, we need to visualize in this way. Especially at the time of death, we must visualize this. What else should we visualize? Here we have a certain method. If you truly feel that you have very truly reached your final moments, we should make such aspirations. May I in every lifetime realize the ultimate truth of the impermanence of all phenomena. When I am at the moment of death, this time I have no other way. I have already left this world, but may I in every lifetime truly understand impermanence and not be attached to any conditioned phenomena, because it is entirely due to our profound and deep attachment to conditioned phenomena that we suffer so very much in this endless cycle of samsara. May this heartfelt aspiration of mine be completely and truly fulfilled. May I in every lifetime understand the truth of impermanence. May I never cling to these seemingly real phenomena and thus wander endlessly in samsara. I pray to the Buddha Shakyamuni, my root teacher, and to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas that you must bless me. Day and night always bless me. Some of our vows, some of our aspirations, and some of our diligent and meaningful practices can also be effectively and successfully accomplished. Such a practice truly possesses immense power and profound significance. I distinctly remember I've completely forgotten which specific scripture it is, but in one of the sacred scriptures it tells the story of a devoted couple in ancient India, specifically in the serene country of Shravasti, who lived a remarkably good and fulfilling life. However, despite their many blessings, they had no children, a deep sorrow for them. Later, the beloved wife tragically passed away. After she left this world, her husband also went to a monastery and became a monk. When his wife was still alive, she often had profound faith in the three jewels and diligently made offerings to the Sangha. Because of these accumulated merits, she was able to achieve a higher spiritual state. She was reborn in the blessed heaven of the 33. There she looked carefully around the entire heavenly realm thoroughly, as a devoted celestial maiden in the sacred heaven of the 33, but she simply couldn't find a perfectly suitable husband there indeed. Then, using her heavenly eye to observe, she realized that her husband from the human world was actually the truly most suitable for her indeed. But he had already become a devoted monk peacefully. In the sacred monastery, he practiced meditation diligently and often did humble cleaning work. He frequently swept the grounds of the stupa and temple. He performed various essential tasks for the Buddhist Sangha. One time, while he was meditating, she manifested herself before him, appearing in the ethereal form of a beautiful celestial maiden. The old monk asked, "Who are you?" She replied, "I was your wife in a previous life. Now I am in the heaven of the 33. If you continue to practice consistently and diligently in this manner, I have observed with my heavenly eye that you will truly be able to be reborn in our heavenly spiritual realm." Then she left. After she left, the old monk, perhaps his practice wasn't very good, became extremely happy. He practiced even more diligently. For this reason, he became even more diligent in his practice. Because he practiced so diligently, later, when the celestial maiden again observed with her heavenly eye, she clearly saw that his virtuous roots had already significantly surpassed the heaven of the 33. He was now able to be reborn in the Tusita heaven, which is even higher than the heaven of the 33. But the celestial maiden, with her delicate form, couldn't ascend that high, so she gracefully came down again and appeared directly before him, gently saying, "Now, there is truly absolutely nothing more that we can indeed do. You have already surpassed me in wisdom and spiritual attainment, and can be reborn in the glorious and blissful Tusita heaven." But this humble old monk, since that was the case, continued to practice without stopping. In the end, he was not reborn in the heavenly realm, but attained enlightenment in this very life. So, when it comes to spiritual practice, you could put it this way. No matter what aspirations you make or what practices you follow, if our mind is especially sincere, our entire future path can keep continuously changing and shifting. Through this kind of dedicated practice, you yourself might ultimately end up better off. Just like in the past, in the ancient 100 Deeds Sutra, it is also clearly mentioned that some people did not practice well, and if they did not encounter a spiritual teacher, they became a female dog. But later, because they met a spiritual teacher, they no longer needed to be reborn as animals, and so on. Such causes and conditions exist. So for everyone present here, sometimes I feel very happy. For example, there are some Buddhists, and now perhaps the number is a bit larger, but not everyone necessarily practices especially well. However, if each person had not studied Buddhism, at the very, very least, they might have killed or truly done many, many bad things. After learning Buddhism, it's not that they completely stopped doing all bad things, but they have decreased a lot, you could say. For example, in the past, we might have used any means necessary to do all kinds of non-virtuous things, and we might have even killed living beings. Every day we would slaughter animals, eat fish, eat seafood, especially things like that. But now, after learning Buddhism, at the very least, some bad actions have been stopped. This kind of merit, whether in this present life or in future lives, this can also truly manifest. So on one hand, sometimes when we actually do indeed do these kinds of things, it is still quite difficult. But on the other hand, everyone has made some achievements. If such a transformation happens in this very life, it is also something to be very joyful about. I also truly hope that the dedicated individuals in all our various regions, whether you are working diligently for the monastic community or for the general public, even though it can be especially stressful, and you feel like you have to satisfy so many people, your own body can't take it, and your mental strength is also running out with much pressure and difficulties. But sometimes, if you think about it, just like it says in the ornament of the sutras, some bodhisattvas, just to plant a single virtuous seed in the continuum of one sentient being, will sow that virtuous root and are willing to remain in samsara or even in the lower realms for countless eons. Compared to that kind of truly inspiring spirit, if we are a little bit tired or suffer just a bit, it is still very meaningful and valuable. So here too we make such aspirations. Whether at the time of death or in our daily lives, we should make such aspirations. We should not bind ourselves with grasping at things as truly existent. We hope that the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will always bless us. Then, after contemplating in this way, just as we discussed earlier, in the Mahayana Sutra of Wisdom at the time of death, or in the Sacred Nirvana Wisdom Mahayana Sutra, it also continues to say that we should deeply contemplate and diligently practice the profound meaning contained within the sutra. As for the meaning in the sutra, since the inherent nature of all phenomena is originally pure and unblemished, one should contemplate the absence of inherent existence. Those who possess genuine bodhicitta should contemplate great compassion. This is a passage here, and the reasoning behind it will be explained below. And for those whose mind is luminous and empty in nature, they should contemplate freedom from attachment. This clearly means that the mind is the cause of wisdom. Do not seek enlightenment elsewhere indeed. This is derived from the sacred sutra that we have just mentioned and discussed, and I have carefully compared it with the most recent and updated translation available. There may be some slight subtle differences in the ancient Tibetan version, which notably includes an additional and significant basis regarding the 5 distinct signs of verification. Other than that, everything else is basically the same. This is the entire content of this particular passage. Next, last year when I was teaching, I forgot about this part. This particular part is indeed included here, but my personal memory isn't quite what it used to be. So when I was translating this, I was also thinking, not sure where it was, Mipham Rinpoche has explained it before, but I just couldn't recall that it is in the extensive biography of the Buddha. It's been over 10 years after all. In the end, this explanation is still very good. Mipham Rinpoche used the Sutra of Wisdom at the time of death. In the future, when you teach the Sutra of Wisdom at the time of death, refer to Mipham Rinpoche's instructions. First, you should visualize in this way. In this boundless and limitless world, countless sentient beings with ourselves as the main focus. All beings take impermanent phenomena to be truly permanent and mistakenly perceive samsara and its suffering for genuine happiness. This is something that we all have in common right now. Everyone present here is like this. We take impermanence as if it were truly existent. Our physical bodies are impermanent. Our current jobs are impermanent. And the places where we live are also impermanent, yet we often treat them as if they were permanent. Some lay practitioners, for example, seem to treat what is already considered permanent as even more permanent. Some, it seems, I've noticed this time, that many Buddhists don't bring anything with them needed for accommodation, bedding and covers. They just come casually, bringing nothing at all. This too is a kind of attachment to permanence, or perhaps an unclear attachment to impermanence. It all seems taken for granted. For example, in most foreign countries, if you go somewhere and plan to stay for 2 days, you'd want to know what the place you'll be staying is like, how I will eat during those 2 days, where I will comfortably stay, what the accommodations are truly like, what I'll use to adequately cover myself at night, what I'll comfortably sleep upon at night. If the significant event is being held outdoors, then people will first mentally prepare themselves. But nowadays, many Buddhists just don't care and take everything for granted. They have this attitude of, why didn't you prepare this for me? So whether it's deep attachment to permanence or to impermanence alike, it all feels a bit quite very unusual indeed. Doesn't it really feel odd They treat impermanence as if it were permanent. They cling to samsara and suffering as if they were happiness. Therefore, regarding the endless cycle of birth and death and sentient beings, one develops a strong sense of compassion. When you see these sentient beings, you realize, oh, in samsara, they mistake suffering for happiness and treat impermanence as if it were permanent. Truly, these sentient beings are so pitiable. And then you develop a very strong compassion for them. Didn't we mention the thought of great compassion? This is the thought of great compassion, and you aspire that these sentient beings may be free from all harm of birth, aging, sickness, and death, and that all of them may be established in unsurpassed state of Buddhahood. This is what it means to give rise to bodhicitta. One must definitely attain perfect enlightenment, fruition of Tathagata, protector of 3 realms. If I do not attain Buddhahood, there is no way I can benefit sentient beings. Therefore, we must give rise to a mind. Seeing that these sentient beings are truly pitiable, I should first attain the fruition myself and then rescue these sentient beings. It's just like some of us. When we see many people living in extreme poverty, we think, I need to earn money, and after I earn it, I want to help and improve their lives. But some people, perhaps at the beginning, think this way, but when they actually become wealthy, they no longer care about those people. There are people like this as well. But the Buddha is different. Therefore, in order to liberate these sentient beings from suffering, one should choose to have compassion based on such a profound and solid foundation of bodhicitta. This is the first section. This is from the earlier part of the Wisdom at the Time of Death Sutra. The meaning of the first section's great compassion is this. It means that at the time of one's death, one should cultivate bodhicitta. This should be clear, right? For each of us, when we finally approach death, what should we do? It is best to do it for the benefit of all sentient beings and to benefit them with great compassion and bodhicitta. This is the first point. Everyone here will eventually leave this world, and when you leave, if you have not cultivated bodhicitta, it is pitiable. That is the meaning of this passage. Now, the meaning of the second passage, similarly regarding all phenomena, especially those related to death, if you observe them in detail, you will also understand that the root of all phenomena actually comes from our own discriminating thoughts. And it is under the manipulation of these discriminating thoughts that we experience so-called suffering, happiness, and other feelings. All of us present here now should have a deep understanding of this, right? Our happiness and our suffering mainly come from our grasping at reality and our discriminating thoughts. If we continue to observe more deeply and thoroughly, then the so-called concepts of death, suffering, and all such transient phenomena, in fact, do not exist in the slightest degree whatsoever. Now, we are starting to talk at a deeper level again, so just listening to one class may not be enough for us to fully digest it. I hope that after we finish listening, we can slowly, gradually, just like the medicine we get from the hospital, a big bag of medicine that we take home and take slowly, taking it for several months. So with our 4 classes, perhaps some people, especially those who have never studied Madhyamaka or emptiness, may not understand. Although this may seem very, very simple, in reality, many profound key points are contained within. Mipham Rinpoche's words are like this. When His Holiness was alive, he said that Mipham Rinpoche's language is extremely profound inside and out, yet also simple, easy to understand, and deeply insightful, and especially full of pith instructions. So as explained here, if in the ultimate reality, whether it is death or suffering, death does not actually exist. Right now we are talking about death, so why does death not exist? From the ultimate perspective, death does not exist. We should contemplate this further and think more deeply. All phenomena are inherently empty and lack true existence. If we continue to investigate, in other words, phenomena such as death are by nature unfounded. However, their appearances, their very forms, still exist. Like a fleeting dream or an ephemeral illusion, these appearances do not cease to be. Such appearances are certainly not nihilistic. If we examine this more carefully and with greater scrutiny, whether there is existence or non-existence, none of these extremes can be expressed. In this way, all phenomena, as well as the very nature of our own mind, are both emptiness and luminosity. Indeed, the true nature of our mind is also emptiness and luminosity. The nature of all phenomena is also emptiness and luminosity. So within this state of emptiness and luminosity, neither emptiness nor non-emptiness exists. The emptiness just mentioned is the great emptiness, where emptiness and luminosity are inseparable. So emptiness and non-emptiness, these concepts truly do not exist at all. This crucial point for us Buddhists, as I mentioned last night, I sincerely hope that we still, even now, deeply understand, have relatively good faith in this regard. I've noticed that recently there are also some new faces, and some are not entirely new faces. There are indeed some dedicated lay practitioners whom I frequently see quite often, but compared to before, our current diligent study and contemplation should, in a certain sense, be quite good. However, it is still not entirely enough for us Buddhists. If we truly want to improve the quality of Buddhist practice, we ourselves must study and learn. This is not only true for Buddhism, but for any form of education in the world. If a person truly wants to improve in all aspects of their life, they must enhance their wisdom and understanding. If wisdom is not sufficiently and truly enhanced, then whatever one does will indeed be rather blind. So nowadays, I personally feel that many Buddhists, whether it's the basic foundational teachings or the teachings of the Sutrayana or Vajrayana, compared to 10 or 20 years ago, there has been significant progress. Especially at this present moment, many individuals who are truly wise and various groups with relatively high and discerning standards have been studying diligently all along. So in the process of learning, whether it's about Madhyamaka or these teachings on emptiness, we will definitely come to understand them. During our studies, we shouldn't just accept something simply because it was said by a revered guru or some other influential individual. You must personally taste its unique flavor yourself. In fact, whether it's the profound biographies of great masters of the past, in their experiences, each and every person has at some point felt something especially profound. So for every Buddhist, as long as you use your own faith and wisdom to explore, everyone will gain something to varying degrees. Some people, perhaps due to karmic connections from past lives, will attain realization more quickly and more deeply. Others may not have as many such challenging conditions, but through your consistent diligence and dedicated effort, you will definitely gain something valuable, more or less, over time. Just as it is mentioned here, first we observe all phenomena and ultimately see them as like a dream or an illusion. Then if we further examine this dreamlike and illusory nature, we arrive at the true nature of our mind, which is emptiness and luminosity. There is absolutely nothing that truly exists inherently or independently. So, as for our present mind, it is also like that. It has always been a union of luminosity and emptiness. This is absolutely very important. Within the true and fundamental nature of mind as it truly is, all phenomena encompassing both samsara and nirvana are originally of an equal and unified nature. This section, the last two lines from the Wisdom Sutra for the Dying that we just discussed, refer to the mind's nature, luminosity and emptiness. This is explained quite clearly in Vajrayana teachings. For those of you who have a foundation in Vajrayana, the meaning of this statement should be quite clear. The wisdom of our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, and our own mind, on the level of the mind's innate natural wisdom, are originally non-dual and inseparable. This statement, everyone, isn't it the same when we talk about Guru Yoga, the Guru's mind and our own mind? Within the wisdom of the Dharmadhatu are non-dual and inseparable. We often say this. So the wisdom of Shakyamuni Buddha and our own mind are in fact originally non-dual and inseparable. If without distraction we give rise to firm conviction in this, then at that moment we can realize our true mind. Apart from this fundamental truth, there is truly no so-called Buddha existing elsewhere, separate and distinct from this reality. This profound passage, those individuals who possess even a slight degree of spiritual realization or understanding, what we mentioned earlier, in essence, should be precisely the same. The wisdom of the Buddha and our own mind are actually no different at all. In fact, the mind that we realize is the Buddha. This statement is a bit profound. Have you studied the Platform Sutra? If you've studied Six Patriarchs' Platform Sutra, you'll know without mind there is no Buddha. So, in this particular respect, it's quite clear. In actual reality, so-called birth and death never truly existed. Birth and death are merely established by the conceptual mind's distinctions. Within the very nature of mind, free from conceptual distinctions, there is fundamentally no birth or death at all. If one can abide in this state of meditative absorption and pass away peacefully, then the bewildering appearances of the bardo will not arise. All the various Bardo Dharma kings within the Bardo, the enlightened beings, and all sorts of terrifying experiences in the Bardo. After passing through them, hell, hungry ghosts, animals, the manifestations of the 18 great hells, none of these will appear
Moreover, you will easily be reborn in a pure land. This is indeed very important for us. For those individuals who do not possess the aforementioned states at the crucial time of their death or in the bardo, as long as you do not forget to recall our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, and rely solely on this particular method alone, you can also be reborn in a pure land. When I was translating at that time, I felt that this sentence is very important for many of us. So there is a small, rather important note inside. At that particular point in time, I truly felt that many of us indeed were feeling this way. Because of our dedicated and consistent spiritual practice, we might not necessarily have very high levels of attainment in the generation and completion stages of meditation. But at the crucial and inevitable time of our death, not forgetting Shakyamuni Buddha, this is something we should be able to do. Or, when you are at the moment of death, just simply think of the Amitabha Buddha. If you truly have faith in Amitabha Buddha, then think of Amitabha Buddha. If you truly have sincere faith in the great Shakyamuni Buddha, then think of Shakyamuni Buddha. So when some people are dying, it is very necessary for us to recite the Buddha's name in front of them. These chanting support groups that we have at the very, very end of life, you absolutely shouldn't treat them as if they're nothing particularly important. This is indeed very, very, very important. When I was hospitalized in the hospital, I often encountered people who were dying. After some people passed away, I felt very happy and immediately ran over there to recite the Buddha's name. Some people drove me away, while some still kindly let me recite the Buddha's sacred name. Because in the hospital, it's quite common to encounter these challenging situations, and it is important to be prepared for them. Sometimes when doctors and nurses are trying to resuscitate someone, I also feel that no matter what they say, I just run out and start doing some peaceful chanting for them right away. Last year at the West China Hospital, that nurse was especially resistant to me coming over. There was a particular nurse in my recovery room who, for some unclear reason, really hated me extremely obviously. No matter where I am, generally, I often encounter different nurses who dislike me very much. So sometimes when I run into these situations, we just don't worry about it. For anyone who is at the end of their life, we recite the Buddha's name for them. Even when we see some animals, we recite the Buddha's name for them too. For them, this is very important. Because for people who are dying, no matter what their previous circumstances were like, whether they were wealthy or powerful, their ultimate fate remains the same. At that moment, they have already let go of everything, or rather, they have no choice but to let go. So death is still very frightening. Sometimes when you think about it, it's like the verses at the end of the precious treasury of Pith instructions. When you die, your entire world is turned completely upside down. All the things you used to love are all left behind there, and after another 7 days, even the very body you cherished so much is now gone. So at that crucial time, whether it's reciting the Buddha's sacred name, which profoundly benefits you, or a meaningful verse, or perhaps chanting deathbed, chanting ritual, these are very important for you, because they directly and significantly affect the very essence of your next life. Because at that point, there's nothing you can do. For example, if you want to go to another country, when you arrive in that country, you have to use a different currency. So first, it is truly essential that we make thorough preparations in this particular regard. This is indeed very necessary. The profound text known as the Practice of Shakyamuni Buddha also contains many deep and significant meanings. I sincerely hope that in the future, the esteemed Dharma teachers among you can also give insightful talks about it. For example, if there are some weekly classes, you can also talk about it in the quite very near future. In addition, in this very life, no matter what kind of suffering or fear you encounter, whether it's pain or terror, as long as you can recall our teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, you will definitely attain liberation from it. Look at Avalokiteshvara Bodhisattva and Manjushri Bodhisattva. Some are venerable ones of wisdom, some of great compassion. Medicine Buddha liberates beings from illness. So what is the special quality of Shakyamuni Buddha? Actually, Shakyamuni Buddha should be considered the most authoritative among all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. No matter whether you encounter fear or encounter suffering or face any kind of hardship, you can rely on the Buddha's blessings to attain liberation. In our daily lives, when we encounter situations of happiness and joy, we should also understand in our hearts that it is only through the Buddha's compassion that such happiness can manifest. Since this is the case, all happiness and goodness should be visualized as clouds of offerings like those of Samantabhadra, and we offer them to all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In our daily lives,
all our happiness as well, offering them to the Buddha and our gurus. We should also visualize all our suffering as the blessings given to us by the Buddha and the blessings given to us by our gurus. We should constantly reflect in this way. This includes, during our practice, when we engage in teachings such as the 3 liberations and the 6 perfections. In actual fact, these are all profound and significant manifestations of the Buddha's boundless kindness and divine grace. Therefore, for the benefit of all sentient beings, we give rise to bodhicitta with great compassion. This sentence should be revised slightly as follows. For the benefit of all sentient beings, we give rise to bodhicitta with great compassion and wholeheartedly engage in the profound and meaningful conduct of a bodhisattva. It is extremely important to always remember the Buddha in this very significant and deeply spiritual way. It is very important for us to frequently recall the Buddha in this manner. If we truly remember the Buddha, this profoundly becomes the very foundation of all the bodhisattva paths indeed, and brings immeasurable benefits. It can also give rise to all the noble virtues of the spiritual path. This is something that each and every one of us must from now on really consider. Whether in the morning, evening, or during the day at any time, make it a habit to always frequently contemplate the great Buddha, to contemplate the enlightened Shakyamuni Buddha. If you wish to contemplate other Buddhas, that is also fine. If you frequently contemplate the Buddha, first, it is the foundation of all Bodhi paths. If we do not recall the Buddha and only act like someone in academia, then always do so. That is not acceptable. We still need to faithfully recite the Buddha's name daily with reverence. When reciting the Buddha's name, there is mindful reciting with the pure mind, with the hands and with the mouth, devotionally always. I see that some new Buddhists who have just arrived don't have prayer beads in their hands currently. Do you perhaps today here, in this moment? If you don't have any prayer beads with you, would you please raise your hand? It is important that you should certainly have them in the future. It's okay. You don't have to raise your hand if you don't want to. Some people possess and utilize counters, do they not? Furthermore, when our minds sincerely recall and diligently follow the teachings and example of the Buddha, this profound spiritual practice inherently brings forth immeasurable benefits, and it gives rise to and paves the way for all noble paths leading to ultimate enlightenment. This is very important. We often contemplate the Buddha and frequently practice Guru Yoga. If we practice regularly, many supramundane virtues will naturally arise. Moreover, it can greatly benefit all sentient beings. Many, many merits will truly manifest. Why is it that some people practice so very well, while others seem to get worse the more they practice? Actually, it's because our foundation is not solid. Some people are really like this. They stayed in Buddhist institutes for years, but later, the more they practice, the more likely they are to develop wrong views. In the end, their practice amounts to nothing. There are people like this. Some people, within a short period of time, all of their virtues arise quite naturally indeed. Moreover, their unwavering faith is extremely stable and steadfast. It was just like this 10 years ago, and it was the same 20 years ago. Now their faith has only grown truly even stronger. Personally, I prefer it when, at the very beginning, whether it's towards the Buddha or the Guru, one isn't overly enthusiastic or excessively zealous. At first, it's generally better to exercise a significant bit of self-control. Then gradually, this newfound faith may occasionally decline, perhaps even temporarily. But overall, the tendency to rise is better. If at the very beginning it's especially high, and then it gradually slowly drops. In the very end, it has already completely and undeniably crossed the critical red line. Even the bottom line is here, and it still keeps going down. This is when wrong views, evil views, and nihilistic views truly start to arise. This is indeed very frightening and concerning. Actually, I think the Buddha's blessings truly never leave us. When we usually contemplate the Buddha and pray to Shakyamuni Buddha, then all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas will also bless you. The Dharma protectors of the white side will also bless you. As for your situation, it is also mentioned here, it can give rise to all the merits of the sacred path. If you frequently contemplate the Buddha, it can give rise to all the qualities of the sacred path, which are beyond the imagination of us ordinary people. Wisdom, compassion, bodhicitta, non-dual wisdom, these merits are indeed truly easily generated. This is still very important for us. Either we don't study Buddhism, but if we do, we should study it earnestly and achieve success in our practice. I also hope, didn't I mention yesterday, that in the future, whether it's me or Larung, anyone who values this kind of lineage, throughout their entire life, should never be separated from Shakyamuni Buddha or from a magnificent statue of the revered Guru Padmasambhava, a truly significant figure.
If you need to go on a business trip for 3 days, if you bring a small little Buddha statue with you, nowadays it's not that very expensive, really, these days. It should be quite affordable. If you started studying Buddhism 20 years ago, and after 20 years you are still practicing in this way, that's very good. Otherwise, nowadays, especially among us Asians, people tend to change rather quickly. In comparison, I think Westerners still, at first they don't study, and they're quite stubborn. But once they start, it's not easy for them to give up. This can also be seen in the number of people attending our classes. It's quite apparent some people's faith is still relatively stable. I hope that we can all truly maintain a very stable state of our daily practice. And this is what he says here. In this day and age, many practitioners often only value the practices of their very own tradition and nothing else. You are from the Theravada, Mahayana, or Tibetan tradition, or within Tibetan Buddhism. I am from the Gelug school, you are from the Nyingma school, and so on. They place a truly great importance on the established practices of their very own school. This guru's respected teachings, this lineage, in these aspects, recitation, have their own characteristics. But as for Buddha, teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, people don't know how to practice. His methods of practice and recitation, many people don't pay attention to them. I might have mentioned this yesterday. Logically speaking, every one of us Buddhists should have great faith in our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. But many people not even know who Shakyamuni Buddha is. They only care about, my guru is so remarkable. But who knows about your guru, really? Actually, Buddhism has become completely individualized, which is not good at all. If you look at Theravada Buddhism, everyone is just a Buddhist. There's nothing else to it. Like in some other religions, including Christianity, they are all united together as one cohesive group. But among Buddhists, there are just far too many different factions. Too many factions are also detrimental to unity. Some of the current practice rituals are also not entirely beneficial. So in this context, it essentially says that Buddhists who have genuinely entered the path of Buddhism, unfortunately, often lack a truly firm and unwavering faith in the Buddha. Such so-called practitioners can be said to be ignorant and foolish people. They don't even know what their own teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, is really like. They don't know his story, nor do they know his biography, and they don't understand his practices either. They completely ignore the Buddha entirely nowadays. Instead, it's all about my guru, my this and that. Very personalized things, unfortunately. Mifam Rinpoche here says, such people are quite ignorant and foolish indeed, truly sadly. Because only Shakyamuni Buddha was truly able, with his unparalleled and profound great compassion, to uphold the pure land in which we now reside. And he has already embraced all the sentient beings of our degenerate world, offering them solace and guidance. And he carries out the activities of a Tathagata in front of all sentient beings. If our teacher Shakyamuni Buddha had not done this at that time, how could there be such a pure land as this? How could the sentient beings of our degenerate world have been embraced? No one would want us. Many Buddhas chose to go to pure lands and didn't want anyone from here. Only Shakyamuni Buddha chose us. It is because of the Tathagata's activities that all our different schools and traditions have space to exist. If it weren't for the Buddha's activities, if they had not been manifested in this world, how exactly would we truly have this sacred space at all? Whether it is the enlightened Buddha or some other truly great spiritual gurus, they are truly remarkable. Otherwise, we might not have what we do now. I often used to very much think, our own guru, His Holiness, is also truly great. Otherwise, if he had not truly created such a world for us to indeed have, for us to experience, then perhaps many people sitting here today might not have reached the state they are in now. Moreover, all the teachings of the Tripitaka, including those that allow beings to attain enlightenment, even during the flourishing of the 5 degenerations, and beings within a brief lifetime can achieve complete Buddhahood, such as the Vajrayana teachings of secret mantra. Vajrayana Buddhism, this comma connects to Buddhism, as well as the great and revered masters, eminent monks, and the Sangha, who propagate both Sutra and Tantra, are all due to the great compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha and manifested through his power of compassion. These sentences are very important. If the Buddha had not done so at that time, we would not see the Tripitaka or secret teachings for attainment, the great masters, eminent monks and Sangha propagating these Sutra and Tantra teachings, all appear due to the compassionate blessings of Shakyamuni Buddha. If the Buddha had truly not created this entire world at that very specific time, then how could we have the great masters and eminent monks we have today? How could we have the secret teachings we have today? How could we have the Tripitaka teachings we have today? Where do all these come from? They all come from our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. If Shakyamuni Buddha had not originally taken care of the sentient beings in this land and had not radiated the light of the Sutra and Tantra teachings, then we sentient beings would hardly even have the chance to hear the name of the three jewels, let alone the actual practicing of the profound teachings of Sutra and Tantra. This is truly the case. Perhaps these words are new to you as well. I've been translating the extensive biography of the Buddha for such a long time, and maybe you still haven't understood these principles. If you understand these principles, it will still be a meaningful experience for you. In the future, in this very life, you will not abandon our teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, at any time. Wow, my teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha, is truly great. If it weren't for his compassionate intention, how could we have what we have today? I truly think that any genuine Buddhist would certainly have this kind of profound gratitude. Therefore, whether you practice the new schools or any of the old traditions toward Shakyamuni Buddha, you must have strong and unwavering faith. You can be from the new schools or the old schools. You can be from the southern tradition or the northern tradition of Buddhism, or within our Han Buddhism, whether you follow the Pure Land school, the Huayan school. None of that really matters. Actually, we have many different schools. Sometimes that's not a good thing, saying, you study Tibetan Buddhism, I study Han Buddhism. It seems that as sentient beings, we have many barriers. With these barriers, if I am Tibetan Buddhism, you are Nyingma, I am Gelug. Nowadays, some particular people are really attached to their own sects. When they hear about another sect, they judge. Even some monastics, you can see it right on their faces. Their expression immediately changes. Oh, you are a disciple of that guru? Oh, then no, sorry. This kind of sectarian attachment, this narrow and divisive adherence to specific groups or interpretations, is really quite unnecessary. It's all fundamentally the profound and universal teachings of our original and enlightened teacher, Shakyamuni Buddha. If someone is not a Buddhist, they are still sentient beings and we should accept them. If they are Buddhist, then it doesn't matter which school of Buddhism they belong to. I think many great masters in Theravada Buddhism are quite tolerant and understanding. We've been to places like Thailand and Yunnan, and also some other places here and there, including some places I've personally visited where there are some Theravada Buddhists. We used to think this is the Shravakayana, this is the Hinayana, but actually they are very tolerant. I wrote about this in part of my book, My Travel to Thailand. Back then, in 1999, when I first started getting in touch with Theravada Buddhism, I initially thought, based on the teachings we had learned before, that they must be very stubborn or rigid in certain ways. But when I actually encountered them, I found, compared to some people in certain sects of Tibetan Buddhism, they were more tolerant, more open-minded and accepting. As long as you are a Buddhist, and even if you are not a Buddhist, they are still very compassionate. As Mahayana Buddhists, I have also visited many sects in the Han Chinese regions. Some of the masters from certain sects are truly remarkable. But as for some other masters, wow. When you first see them, you feel a bit uneasy inside somehow naturally. You wonder, oh dear, how should I even talk to him appropriately now then? So sometimes strong attachment to one's own particular sect is not a good thing either, honestly, really, unfortunately. After all, we all belong to Shakyamuni Buddha. That's enough. There's no need to make distinctions. Don't say my guru and your guru, your sect and my sect. I hope that lay practitioners won't treat gurus this way, where some are disciples of this guru and others are disciples of that guru, and they end up fighting each other, or some are disciples of this sect and others are disciples of that sect, and they go to war with each other, whether it's a trade war or a technology war, for example. There are so many kinds of conflicts, and none of them are good. Buddhists should embrace all sentient beings with compassion. If you don't have the ability to embrace sentient beings, and instead we end up quarreling among ourselves, then what's the true point of all this? So in the future, it's best for Buddhists not to defend my guru or my sect. A lot of this is just our own afflictions. Do you know what is meant by one's own afflictions? It's genuine greed and genuine anger. That's what is called one's own afflictions. It's best not to have these kinds of things. Here, we also need to have respect for Shakyamuni Buddha and have exceptional reverence. We should consistently meditate upon Shakyamuni Buddha with unwavering diligence. Today we even have a singer here with us. So regarding this significant Shakyamuni Buddha meditation ritual, we should consider, in the past, our Ritual of the Buddha text, At our Buddhist academy, we only had the 30th and 15th days, which were the designated days for observance and reflection. And it was customary to recite it during the precept ceremonies. But after I translated the extensive biography of the Buddha, I felt that every Buddhist among us should recite it regularly. So, after I had just returned from my trip to Xiamen, I suggested during our class session, could we all perhaps consider doing something together, recite it every day before my lectures? Because none of the other Khenpos had this particular practice. Later, some people thought it was just my personal preference. After all, this class was given by me, so they didn't voice any strong objections, but it was clear they weren't particularly happy or pleased about the situation. Up to this point, we've diligently recited it countless times, but in any case, most people can ultimately understand and accept it. The reason I included the ritual of the Buddha is also for this reason. Each one of us, as long as you are a Buddhist, you shouldn't make such fine distinctions, like I'm this guru's disciple or I'm that guru's disciple. If you divide things up like that, it gets too complicated. We are all disciples of Shakyamuni Buddha. In this way, there are no barriers between us. I think this is quite important. So our ritual of the Buddha is also now on a global scale being widely promoted and practiced very well. This is also due to the blessings of Mipham Rinpoche, which is a very good thing. Next, there are 3 important questions that we need to address. I believe that today we should aim to thoroughly finish discussing all of them. This process might still take a little while longer, as there are a few additional questions that are listed below and require our careful consideration. These were a few questions raised by Mipham Rinpoche at the time. If someone thinks this way, even though the object of their own faith is not solely Shakyamuni Buddha, however, I personally have profound faith in other Tathagatas who have long since completely abandoned all desire and possess the noble appearance of a renunciate, such as the revered Medicine Buddha and also Vajrasattva Buddha, or others like what we often refer to as the revered Akshobhya Buddha, the precious Ratnasambhava Buddha, the supreme Vairocana Buddha, and indeed, there are many, many diverse and sacred Buddha images depicted in various forms and traditions. So it is not necessary that the one I have faith in must be Shakyamuni Buddha. Other Tathagatas who have abandoned desire and appear as emanations are also acceptable, or the peaceful and the wrathful Yidams, whether it's Yamantaka or Manjushri Bodhisattva, or Hayagriva or Kalachakra, there are many peaceful and wrathful deities, and one can have complete faith in these Yidams. So what is the difference between these two? Why must I have faith in Shakyamuni Buddha? If some people think this way, Mipham Rinpoche answers as follows. This question can be answered in this way. From the perspective of their true nature, of course, there is no difference between the two, because the wisdom bodies of all Tathagatas are originally of equal nature. As we mentioned earlier, all Tathagatas are of one taste and one essence in the Dharma realm. Moreover, in terms of the realization and abandonment of defilements, there is no difference. Among Medicine Buddha, Amitabha Buddha, and Shakyamuni Buddha, which one has cultivated better? Which one has better achievements? There is no such distinction. Their merits in realization and abandonment are all equal. However, there are still some differences. If we measure from the perspective of conventional truth, from the aspect of manifestation, then all the deities worshipped by various schools, whether peaceful or wrathful Yidams, are present and accounted for. All appear relying on the great loving kindness and compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha. This is something we should be aware of. From the perspective of ultimate reality, all Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are the same. But in terms of appearance, especially in our Saha world, and particularly in this current fortunate aeon, Shakyamuni Buddha became the 4th Buddha. Relying on his profound and boundless great compassion, all wrathful forms, all peaceful forms, all these enlightened Buddhas and compassionate Bodhisattvas manifest and exist in their various aspects. They are able to profoundly manifest in this world. They manifest extensively through his boundless and immeasurable great compassion. Just like all the numerous rivers in Jambudvipa, where exactly do they originate from? They originate from the legendary Lake Anavatapta. In this context, Jambudvipa specifically refers to the vast and ancient land of India. As for Lake Anavatapta, it is a significant and sacred lake, famously located at the majestic Mount Kailash, a revered peak in the Himalayas. According to ancient times, and even now, its geographical location simply remains the same. At the center of Jambudvipa is the Vajra seat in India, central India, and even now it is still central India. So it is widely believed that the major rivers of India should originate from the sacred and majestic Mount Kailash. The pristine snowmelt from this towering mountain flows down its slopes, eventually feeding into a significant and ancient freshwater body known as Lake Anavatapta. We also talked about this before when we carefully studied the Abhidharmakosha. Some wise scholars truly believe it is Lake Manasarovar, but Sakya Pandita thoughtfully considered and thought it might not be this one because its shape is quite different. Milarepa considered it to be this lake. In any case, there are different opinions among scholars. But regardless, actually the ultimate and fundamental source of all water, much like the mythical and pure Lake Anavatapta, is profound. All of these beings, whether in this present world, be it the revered Yidams, the enlightened Dakinis, or the powerful Dharma protectors, are interconnected. And all the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas all originate from the great compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha. All the teachings, both exoteric and esoteric, including even the most subtle practices, even the simplest practice, all exist in this world due to the great compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha. It's like when we pray to our root guru, the blessings we receive far surpass the blessings we might receive from praying to other gurus. If you pray to a spiritual guru with whom you already have a strong Dharma connection, the power of his blessings is very swift and easily obtained. But if I pray to other gurus whom I have never met, with whom I have no direct lineage or personal connection, the blessings may not come as swiftly or as easily. This is primarily due to karmic connections from past lives. If we truly pray to other Buddhas, however, the speed at which we receive their blessings is definitely not as fast as when we sincerely pray to Shakyamuni Buddha. This fundamental difference is the profound reason why. Why is it so incredibly important for us to diligently practice Shakyamuni Buddha? The reason is that we have a karmic connection and receive blessings from him. Moreover, in this world, all the manifestations of Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are inseparable from the compassionate blessings of Shakyamuni Buddha. So when we pray to the Buddha, it's just like the profound analogy given here by the Venerable Mipham Rinpoche. Each of these insightful analogies presented here, I hope you will reflect on them seriously. If we pray to a teacher with whom we have no connection, it won't have effect. But if we have a Dharma connection with them, there is a power in it. This is something I experience as well. For example, those I receive teachings from, like when I pray to my root guru, His Holiness, I truly feel that I receive the blessings. I can sense this myself. But as for other truly remarkable teachers, if I have never received any Dharma teachings from them, theoretically, I acknowledge that this person is extraordinary, but the blessings I receive simply cannot compare. It's the same with Shakyamuni Buddha. The sentient beings in this Saha world truly have a karmic connection with him. So when we pray to Shakyamuni Buddha, there is still a difference compared to praying to other Buddhas. You should deeply understand this important point. Sometimes when we study and contemplate Buddhism without proper teachings or guidance, we simply don't know the truly profound meaning within. Secondly, if someone starts to have this kind of doubt in their mind, thinking, if that's the case, then can we just pray only to our teacher Shakyamuni Buddha? Is there no need to pray to Yidams? This is also a bit excessive. They might say, then I'll practice only Shakyamuni Buddha. I won't practice anything else. A lot of people are like this nowadays. Since you say Shakyamuni Buddha is so remarkable, then just one Buddha should be enough. Why do we need so many? Sentient beings have different capacities. That's why many emanations of the Buddha are needed. This is how it's explained here. But the essence of the issue is not like this. Because no matter which particular Yidam you choose to pray to, the true nature of these Yidams is not something that transcends or is separate from the nature of Shakyamuni Buddha. Whether we pray to Manjushri Bodhisattva or Samantabhadra Bodhisattva, or any other Yidam from the Han, or Tibetan traditions, or any other Buddha, in fact, their true nature has never been apart from Shakyamuni Buddha. We should understand that within the equality of all Buddhas and the Dharma nature, they are, you could say, inseparable and indistinguishable. Shakyamuni Buddha is simply manifesting in different forms, appearing as various Yidams. Everyone should remember this. Within our different schools, it's not that sometimes we practice Vajrakilaya, and at other times we practice wrathful Vajra deities. There are many like this. But in reality, all these Yidams share the same essence as Shakyamuni Buddha and have never been separate from him. Thus, they become protectors and sources of refuge for us sentient beings in this degenerate age. If one thinks that the Yidam they practice is completely different in its very essence from Shakyamuni Buddha, then completely abandoning the sacred teachings of the Buddha and exclusively practicing the profound and powerful methods of the Yidam deity will absolutely never lead to success. There isn't really much left to discuss or explain, so let's quickly finish up the remaining explanation. The third question, or some people might think this way, in the context of the unsurpassed secret teachings, the very essence of one's root Vajraguru is inseparable from all the Buddhas of the three times. One feels that their own guru is extremely important, and that in terms of kindness, the guru has even surpassed all the Buddhas of the three times.
Because even if all the Buddhas of the three times are present in the world, if the spiritual guru has not yet appeared, then one absolutely cannot receive divine blessings. Even though the Buddhas of the three times may be present, if the guru has not appeared, then the Dharma cannot be obtained, and there is no way to receive blessings. Therefore, accomplishment is impossible. Thus, the merit of offering even a single hair to the guru surpasses merit of making offerings to Buddhas of three times. When guru is pleased, Buddhas of three times are pleased. Moreover, one can receive unique blessings. This is why, in many Vajrayana teachings and tantras, there is repeated and continuous praise for the guru. What he trying to say? He feels that as long as one practices guru yoga, that is enough, and there is no need for anything else. Because the guru embodies the essence of the three jewels, or can even be called the fourth jewel, just as some verses also state, know that the supreme guru surpasses the Buddhas. Apart from guru yoga, what other practice could be more supreme? This is what the other party says. What he means is, according to the Vajrayana view, it is enough to only practice devotion to the guru. So why would anyone practice Shakyamuni Buddha? Nowadays, some of our schools are like this, practicing guru yoga every day. And apart from this, they don't even have the ritual of the Buddha Shakyamuni. But this is a bit excessive and not quite right either. Why is it not right? There is an answer to this below. In response to this, the answer is that originally, it is indeed the case that in Vajrayana, apart from sacred path of Guru Yoga, there is no supreme practice receiving blessings. However, the Guru who expounds the Vajrayana teachings for us is actually also an emanation of Shakyamuni Buddha. Just like what is mentioned in the Nirvana Sutra clearly, this scriptural proof, the translation is just slightly different here. Ananda, do not grieve. Ananda, do not lament. In the future, I will manifest as a truly virtuous spiritual friend to greatly benefit all of you. Our translation is a little bit different from the original text. By relying on the compassion of Shakyamuni Buddha, the masters who are able to teach the Dharma, in fact, they can be called the speech emanation of the Buddha, or the speech body, which represents his enlightened discourse. Because if you want to practice this Dharma, and there are masters who have actual realization and accomplishment, in fact, they have attained from the Buddha's own continuum the ultimate bodhicitta and the conventional bodhicitta. Therefore, they can be called the mind emanation body. In this way, if you practice Guru Yoga, in reality, there is no difference from Shakyamuni Buddha. Not only is this the case when practicing Guru Yoga, but when practicing with any Guru or Yidam, one should always truly maintain the view that they are no different from the very Buddha. Moreover, all Buddhas of the three times are inseparable. If not, and you make distinctions of superior or inferior among Tathagatas, you will never attain accomplishment. Today, there may still be a little more to cover later, but let's finish reading everything. Don't feel too tired. You should be able to manage this situation. These points are quite important. After truly understanding the great kindness of Shakyamuni Buddha, as described above, we greatly develop immense respect for Shakyamuni Buddha and generate a deep sense of reverence. Then we begin to practice with the Guru or Yidam, who is inseparable from him, and recite the prayers. In our practice of the Buddha, the Guru and Yidam are also inseparable. By practicing in this way, accomplishment is certain. This is the sacred practice of recalling the spiritual ritual of the Buddha. When practicing and reciting, we should also visualize the Sutrayana and Tantrayana gurus to whom we have pledged ourselves, as well as the entirety of the three jewels of the past, present, and future, all gathered and unified in the form of the Buddha, focusing on a single deity. Regard the Buddha as the very essence of all of them, and then proceed diligently with the recitation and practice of the teachings. In our ritual, according to the requirements of the Sutrayana, the main practice is to deeply recollect and focus on the Buddha and his teachings. This is mainly a practice focused on recollecting the Buddha. However, if you wish to incorporate the practice of visualizing the Buddha and the Guru as inseparable, that is also permissible. This Shakyamuni ritual itself is simply a practice of recollecting the Buddha. But if you wish to regard the Guru and the Buddha as inseparable, that is also acceptable. It is not strictly necessary, though. You only need to recollect the Buddha. It is not absolutely required. Why is that? Because recollecting the Buddha alone can indeed accomplish all the necessary activities according to the exoteric tradition. It is unlike in our Vajrayana when practicing Guru Yoga. It is necessary for the Guru and the Buddha to be inseparable. There is no such requirement in the exoteric tradition. As was mentioned earlier yesterday, as long as you visualize the Buddha, there is no need for the final dismissal, absorption, or other such steps. It is the same here. As long as you recollect Buddha, all activities of pacifying, increasing, magnetizing, and subjugating be accomplished. Therefore, here, there is no special requirement that you must visualize your root guru and Shakyamuni Buddha as being inseparable. If you do visualize them that way, there is nothing wrong with that either. It is also permissible to do so. But then when reciting the Buddha's name, there is a lama in it. At that time, I translated this lama as root teacher. Because Shakyamuni Buddha is our root teacher in Chinese, it sounds a bit odd to say Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. Originally, in Tibetan, it is also lama, and in English, it is commonly referred to as guru. In many other languages and various cultural contexts, when translating this specific term, they consistently choose to utilize the word guru. But in Chinese, when we say root teacher Shakyamuni Buddha, everyone can easily understand it. But if we say Guru Shakyamuni Buddha, it sounds a bit. So I didn't use guru particularly here. Why did Mifam Rinpoche call him root teacher precisely? There are three essential reasons for this clearly. The first reason is that he is the teacher of the three realms, so the Buddha can be called root teacher. The second reason is that the world-honored one and the guru with whom we have a deep karmic connection and faith, because they are inseparable, it is also appropriate to use root teacher to address him. That's the second reason. As for the third, in the highest Vajrayana, the root guru is taken as the essence, and the form is clearly visualized as the revered Shakyamuni Buddha. When practicing Guru Yoga, this is also effective. When we recite the Shakyamuni ritual, we can follow the methods of Vajrayana, visualizing form as Shakyamuni Buddha essence is our root guru. If we practice in this way, appropriate to call him root teacher Shakyamuni Buddha or Guru Shakyamuni Buddha. For these three reasons, when we recite the Buddha's name, originally it is that's how it is at the beginning, but here there is a lama at the beginning. In Tibetan, lama means root teacher. The reason we call him root teacher is like this. So when we practice the sutra ritual of the Buddha, if you only visualize Shakyamuni Buddha, that is also acceptable. Or you can visualize Shakyamuni Buddha as being inseparable from your own root guru. Moreover, the essence is your own guru, while the appearance is that of Shakyamuni Buddha. This particular kind of visualization is also perfectly acceptable. This is because the guru is considered to be the very root and the complete embodiment of all Buddhas. No matter which Buddha you visualize your guru as, in fact, there is no contradiction in this kind of practice. It is also fine to visualize the Guru as Amitabha or Guru Padmasambhava. As long as you have unwavering faith in your Guru and in the Buddha, any form of spiritual practice will receive the same profound blessings. This is an unchanging natural law. Next, there is a verse that follows. Let me briefly explain it. Although this time we are not teaching the extensive biography of the Buddha, it can be considered a kind of completion. This next part is a verse from the extensive biography of the Buddha. So for those of us present here, whether or not we have studied such a great treatise as the extensive biography of the Buddha in this very life, since this is the latter part, let's just briefly look at the literal meaning. Looking at the literal meaning of the phrase itself, the first verse is by Mifam Rinpoche, who says, "I am an ordinary person full of afflictions and extremely inferior. But all the virtuous words I have spoken are all based on the teachings of the Tathagata." Mifam Rinpoche is very humble. If it were Venerable Longchenpa, after having written so much, he would most definitely write at great length to praise himself extensively and thoroughly. Mifam Rinpoche says, "I am an inferior ordinary person." Venerable Longchenpa would certainly not say this. He would say something like, "In the sky of my wisdom, clouds of virtuous speech." He would definitely have a great deal of such things indeed. Now, the second verse. If one hears the true words of the Buddhas being praised, or if one hears the name of Shakyamuni Buddha, one attains the irreversible stage of realization. Therefore, we practitioners are especially very fortunate really today. This precious sentence is for everyone present here today, right now, because the Buddha praised in many sutras specifically with great wisdom that as long as one hears the name of Shakyamuni Buddha, one will not regress on the path to true enlightenment. Even animals, if they hear the sacred Buddha's name, will also certainly attain the irreversible stage in the distant future. All of us present here, although our practice may have some shortcomings, we are truly fortunate as we possess the faculty of hearing, allowing us to clearly hear the Buddha's voice and his profound teachings. We are so fortunate since we have the faculty of sight. We can see the Buddha's form. We also have the faculty of mind and can contemplate the Buddha's practice of the 6 perfections and virtuous deeds.
the faculty of mind, the faculty of hearing, the faculty of smell. Well, maybe not the faculty of smell, as we can't really smell anything from the Buddha statue or taste anything at all from it. It seems our tongues and noses don't quite work for that, do they? But we can use our bodies to make contact, to hold Buddha statues, to hold Buddhist scriptures and such. So those who follow this path are truly blessed. You should remember this sentence. All of us here, this is what I think. Sometimes our practice isn't very good. We have heavy afflictions, much suffering, and all sorts of problems. But still, in this very life, we have indeed encountered Buddhism and heard the sacred name of the Buddha. This is truly a very important moment. Just look at this sacred Buddha statue. If we didn't have the karmic connection, none of us would be able to see this Buddha statue, right? Next, it talks about the inconceivable source of all of merit. The ritual of the Buddha Shakyamuni manifested through the Buddha's blessing power. Those with wisdom should practice it. Later, there are 2 verses, a dedication prayer and a verse. Finally, it states, composed and completed by Mipham Jampal Gyatso. This significant text was translated on the 3rd of May in the year 2002. At that particular time, it should be duly recorded within my personal Footprints of the Journey journal. I also made an entry about it in my diary. The translation was done at Minnan Buddhist College. Actually, I personally didn't go to Minnan Buddhist College very often during that period of time. I only went to the Minnan Buddhist College occasionally. This was because I was staying at the 174th hospital. It wasn't very far away from the Minnan Buddhist College at all. In the afternoons, I would often go there for a visit. I started this significant undertaking on December 15, 2001, and then on May 2, 2002, it took a little over 100 days to meticulously finish the entire translation. Looking back now, it truly was a demanding and remarkable period. It was meaningful at that time. Back then there was the esteemed Khenpo Norba, and another Han Chinese Lama who diligently helped me type. The 3 of us would often, every single afternoon, gather together and spend time just being together. There was a well-known Gansu noodle restaurant situated right next to the 174th hospital. We would often go there to enjoy their delicious and freshly prepared noodles. When we finally completed the extensive translation work, we then proceeded to the historic Minnan Buddhist College. Actually, inside Minnan Buddhist College, I would occasionally go there. That very day, the translation of the extensive biography of the Buddha was completed. The proofreading was also finished. It was quite a satisfactory completion. So this translation of mine, maybe for many of you as well, should have brought some benefit, right? If it hadn't been translated back then, maybe none of you would even understand the meaning. So this time we can say that we've achieved a truly satisfactory completion quite remarkably and thoroughly.
Sonam dei tamse thobaya tonne de jana pase jirgana jirano chupai jupun sonen droja
bandangara badna sodarda bandangara badna sodarda bandangara badna sodarda